Hello, I was one of the 4 mother tongue tutors on the INCLUDI project. My task, together with the teachers from the selected classes, was to identify from the INCLUDI manual the workshops that were best suited to the class's needs and programs. Once we had identified the workshops we wanted to use, I then worked on preparing all the necessary material required to carry out the different tasks involved. The workshops were made up of a pre-task, a task and planning task, and then a final report. We dedicated between 5 to 6 hours per workshop per single class. Throughout this video, I will be showing you some of the different steps and final results from a few of the different workshops by my classes. One of these workshops is called Menus from Around the World. This was used with the 3rd year at a middle school. However, this can easily be adapted for students at high school. Here, the pre-task was to carry out the research on recipes from around the world. Students in their groups chose a country of preference and from there worked on choosing a recipe that they identified with that country. Once the recipe had been identified, students were encouraged to use the app called Padlet. This was in fact a new app for the majority of them. Their immediate interest and curiosity in learning how to use it to its best was immediately evident. Through this, they identified a major city within the country and its location on the app's map. They were then able to write their recipe on this page by using their mobile phones. During this part of the task, the students were able to analyze both preparation and cooking methods, thus improving and increasing their grammar and vocabulary use. For the second task, the students were then asked to create a menu card which included their particular dish. Throughout this task, the students continued to learn and use new vocabulary associated to the recipe and the menu selection. Each group created an individual menu card that offered a selection of starters, main courses, side dishes and desserts. The final task requested them to then create a role-play scene within their restaurant or coffee shop. Here, the students worked by giving each member its individual part to play. All members of the single groups had a speaking part as well as assisting behind the scene, creating the correct scenery and props. The groups then recorded and mounted the videos of their role plays, which were then shown to the class, who in turn commented them. Another workshop requested that the students become weather forecasters. The goal here was to research weather conditions and to report them. As with every workshop, I started the topic by showing a PDF presentation that I had created especially for the different tasks. Here the students were first played a famous song that spoke about weather. We analysed the lyrics and then moved on to the creative side of the project. Weather headlines in online reports were discussed, as well as the consequences of extreme and non-extreme weather conditions. As you can see in these 2 slides, the students from the middle school completed an interactive Padlet document which enabled them to insert all these terms and associated images into a virtual vocabulary list that they could then share through the use of a QR code. The students found this part of the task exciting, as it became a competition to find and insert the details onto their mobile phones. This data was then visible in real time on the interactive screen. In the second step, the students were asked to then start preparing the text for a live news report, evidencing extreme and non-extreme weather conditions. They were able to use their imagination and creativity to a maximum, with the possibility of also making their videos funny. Here the students surprised me with their humorous use of scenery, costumes and props. The final videos were evidence of the fun and the students had preparing them, thus increasing their self-confidence. Another very stimulating workshop was the reportage. Here the students from a 3rd year at high school were asked to analyse some Instagram channels in order to try and understand what the job of a travel blogger consists in. Students were asked to identify what makes a successful travel blogger, what elements of contents a good blog should contain, to understand how important the length the video should be, the quality and style of photos posted, and the importance of choosing the right music to accompany it all. All these factors, plus many others, are fundamental in enabling a blogger to obtain more likes. The question I then asked my students was, So, would you consider becoming a blogger in the future? Could this be your future career? With these questions in mind, the students then had the task to try and create a list of important points to note on their virtual notice boards. Using the app Linoit, each group then created their own virtual notice board with post-it notes containing all the relevant information and facts. In order to assist them with this new task, I then showed them a PDF I had created, which helped identify these important areas of every blog. The next stage of this workshop requested that the students navigated online to search for today's most popular travel bloggers. Some groups chose to study famous Italian bloggers and others popular international bloggers. It was with this workshop that many of my students who had low self-confidence or difficulties started to shine out in their groups. Being a topic of interest and of everyday life, my students were immediately able to relate to the task. All the information researched was then pasted onto their notice boards for the final presentation. For the final part of this task, the students were then asked to present in detail their research. Even those who initially didn't feel comfortable talking in front of others, through this topic felt at ease giving their feedback. At the end of every presentation, the rest of the class was then invited to comment on the work. This enabled complete class participation of opinion giving. In conclusion, I would like to say that whilst working on this project, I discovered just how important the INCLUDI method is. When I first entered the classes, I did not want to know which students had learning difficulties and which didn't. I didn't want to pay special attention just to individual students, but I wanted to be able to treat them all as equals. I believe that every single student has more qualities than difficulties within the classroom. By using the INCLUDI method and its concentration on the use of different apps available today, students were motivated by their curiosity and creativity. Working together in their chosen groups, each individual student was able to contribute to the activities using their knowledge acquired through their use of the apps within their free time. Even though many of my students had various learning difficulties, my opinion has always been that every student is unique and has so much to offer and to teach at the same time. The INCLUDI method helped them overcome these difficulties in a fun and friendly environment by giving them the freedom to express their ideas, discuss, plan, project manage, and present their presentations, which in turn helped them to overcome their general fears, whilst contributing to greater self-confidence in their ability to communicate using the English language. Over the weeks, the students with learning difficulties, through the interactive and non-interactive activities carried out, were sometimes even able to shine above others and become, in so many cases, the work group leaders. The students' enthusiasm and interest was truly demonstrated during these workshops, and this for me was extremely gratifying. They worked with passion whilst discovering new abilities. The atmosphere within the classroom was very relaxed and highly productive, as you can see in the slides from my presentation. As their tutor, I am very proud of the results and improvements achieved. The buzzing, productive atmosphere for the single activities, together with the use of the VR headset and its learning app, have proven to be a very efficient learning tool. When the project was coming to an end, the students' reaction was that of disappointment. They asked for the following workshops to continue the following year. I, as a mother tongue English teacher, continue to use these workshops in my regular lessons, both in middle and high schools, and every time the results and enthusiasm shown just go to confirm that this method works very well within the classroom.